Welcome to Chalk Talk, a weekly preview of West Tennessee football featuring the JSUN sports team here on JacksonSun.com.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Week 1 edition of JacksonSun Chalk Talk for the 2014 high school football season. My name is Craig Thomas. This is sports editor and high school football beat writer Brandon Shields. A lot of interesting action in Week 0. Learned some things about some teams, but still obviously plenty more to learn, plenty more to look forward to here in Week 1. And out of all the games we got scheduled for this coming Friday, a few of them stand out. And one of them is right here in the city, and that's USJ against Trinity Christian Academy. That'll be at TCA. What are you looking for from this game?
Well, I'm looking for a better defensive performance compared to last year from USJ. Just because if you remember last year, TCA put up 35 points in the first half and let that clock run down in the second half and called off the Dogs there. And I know that for the last 51 weeks now, USJ's football program, that's probably something that's kind of been in the back of their minds about the fact that TCA had to call off the Dogs against them last year. And but I think, particularly judging from last week's game against Southside where they won 41-6, I think USJ's defense is coming in playing a little better. I think they'll be a little bit more ready for the pass offense now. I mean, yes, going into the last year, everybody knew that TCA was going to have a good pass offense. I just don't think that a lot of people were particularly sure until after that game last year just how good this pass offense was going to be. And with everybody back, I think they're probably going to be a little bit more ready. I still give a little bit of an advantage to TCA to win this game, but I think it'll definitely be close. I don't think there'll be a running clock this year.
Is TCA's defense, how ready are they to handle the USJ offense?
Well, that is something that was kind of a point of emphasis during this offseason, to the point that Blake Butler and TCA's head coach and the Lions administration went out and actually hired a defensive coordinator. So I think we'll get an idea of how well they're working on that side of the ball. Going against St. George's last week, I'm not sure if allowing 31 points to a team that finished second in Division II last year is really an adequate barometer of where they're at. USJ may not either if they turn out to be as good as USJ has been in recent years, but this will definitely be another good test for them.
Talk about teams that we learned something about in Week 0, had a good Week 0. Milan was one of those teams. When you go into Lexington and win, that's a good first week. They will be at Humboldt. What are you looking for from the Bulldogs, and then what are you looking for from Humboldt as well?
Well, this is just, first of all, I hate using cliches, but this is one of those where you can throw the records out. But they're both 1-0, so I guess you can keep them in there for what that's worth. But I was talking with someone about this earlier in the week, and I feel like coming out of Week 0's games, with Milan's win over Lexington, I feel like we know a little bit more about Milan than we do about Humboldt after a close win over West Carroll, just because we don't know how good West Carroll or Humboldt is at this point. I think with both West Carroll and Humboldt having tougher opponents, West Carroll going to Harding Academy, that we'll find out a little bit more about both teams. Just going off of last week, I'm expecting Milan to win, but how good Milan is, I'll probably this time next week kind of hinge my opinion on that based on how they do against Humboldt. If they barely win, I don't know if I'll think that they're a really good team, but if they win by 2, 3, even 4 or 5 touchdowns, then I might be on the Milan bandwagon and wearing purple again next week.
We'll see. A couple teams that had big Week 0 victories as far as margin: Huntington and Westview. They'll be playing that game at UTM over in Martin. What are you looking for out of that game?
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, both of these teams are riding a lot of momentum coming out of Week 0. I saw Westview beat Dresden, and to be honest with you, I thought Dresden would win that game just because going in, I was hearing there were a lot of questions about Westview's depth, particularly up front on the offensive line. They answered those questions well, and with plays made by Parker Beal, Jason Hicks, and Dallas Callens, they kind of took over that game late in the second quarter, and Dresden tried to come back, but Westview kind of shut those possibilities out pretty quick. Huntington comes in. I don't know at this point if they're looking like the better team, but a 2A team beating a 4A team by 42 points looks pretty good on the resume. And also, I'd say Huntington has the advantage on the line just because of depth, but Westview has more experience. and that's what helped them out against Dresden last week. So you can't even give an advantage to one team, in my opinion. But except for the fans are just going to have fun watching a good game between two good teams.
Sounds good. You talk about a good Week 0 win. The team that had everybody talking, I think, after Week 0 was the Crusaders of Liberty Tech. They at home over Henry County, defending 5A state champion. Now they're going to Brentwood Academy for Week 1. The beat goes on as far as that tough schedule. What do you expect out of this game?
Have I mentioned that Liberty plays some tough opponents this year?
I think you have.
I have.
But just in case, if you want to.
Okay, Liberty plays some tough opponents this year. I mean, shoot, I could probably sit down at a keyboard and type that with my eyes closed. I've typed it so much the last couple of years. But, they got maybe their biggest win in a couple of years, particularly during the regular season, with that win over Henry County. And this week they have an opportunity to get an even bigger win because Brentwood Academy, they're not just one of the better teams in their class, and they're not just one of the better teams in the state. They're one of the better programs in the South. And if Liberty can go to Middle Tennessee and come back with a win, that would be a huge notch in Steve Hookfin's, or a huge feather in Steve Hookfin's cap, and really build a lot of momentum for Liberty coming out. And just the fact that we're talking about the fact that they possibly have a chance to go in there and win says a lot about Liberty coming off that game last week.
Just real quick, Devin Bush obviously had a huge game in Week 0, and obviously that's something that Brentwood Academy will pay attention to. What might Liberty be able to do in addition to him to kind of give themselves a real good chance here, do you think?
Well, I will say Liberty fans might remember back to last year, that was the game that Devin Bush got hurt in. He might have been stretchered off. I know he had neck issues in that game. There were some scares. And it kind of affected him. He didn't play against MUS. He may not have played against Haywood the following week. But if he can have a good game, Corey Newble, the quarterback, he showed, particularly in the Jamboree and last week against Henry County, he showed sparks of brilliance running the ball and throwing the ball. There's some receivers out there, mainly Ajon White, who can catch the ball. He's a former quarterback, so he knows what the quarterback's looking for. So if he knows what Corey's looking for, he's going to try to do that. Plus, that defense is really good. Colton Meadows leading the charge for the Crusaders last week with 10 tackles, I think. He was one of Brandon's beasts at the defensive line spot. So this defense is they have the ability to compete with Brentwood Academy on both sides of the ball. It's just a matter of going out and actually executing.
All right, so several good games in Week 1. Brandon, you want to tell us about the social media plan for this week?
Social media plan for this week. Well, first of all, on Friday in mid-afternoon sometime, I'll send out on Twitter. You can follow me at JS Editor Brandon. I'll send out the Twitter follow list where I may let you know what game you're going to on Friday afternoon.
That would be nice. I appreciate it.
And people can follow him for updates from that game. Michael Odom, Josh Lemons, and the people who help us out freelancing. And if they're on Twitter, their Twitter handles where you can follow them. Then throughout the night, we'll have scores and halftime scores on JacksonSun.com, final scores from all around the area on JacksonSun.com, and we'll be tweeting and retweeting score updates from all around the area as much as possible, particularly on mine and Michael Odom's Twitters. Then throughout the evening, probably starting hopefully by about 10:30 or so, you can log on to JacksonSun.com and see the stories and photos that we have photographers like Kenny Cummins, who is filming this and producing this video now. The shots from that they took, and so I mean we're all over the web. So if you want to wake up Saturday morning, or if you're afraid you're going to wake up on Saturday morning not knowing scores from around the area, you're going to have to try really hard to not do that.
That's right. Also, don't forget the Friday morning blitz. I'll have all the preview stuff that kind of get you, kind of ready for the next slate of games. And then, of course, Saturday, if you haven't caught any of it yet, you can always kind of look back and see what happened. We've got a football tab that came out last week. If you haven't been able to pick it up, you can call us here at the Jackson Sun or come by and pick up a copy.
427-3333.
All right, 92 pages of really good, extensive, looks ahead to the season, and it can be a really good resource for the rest of the year. So we definitely recommend it. But besides that, we thank you for checking us out and hope to see you Friday night.
And check us out on Facebook, the Jackson Sun Sports Facebook page.